It's rare when it happens, but it does happen when a podcast comes along that changes lives, that opens eyes, and genuinely does it to enlighten, inspire, and empower. That is what we're here to do. Welcome to EeezDrop, the podcast where we invite you to eavesdrop on unscripted, candid conversations that'll hopefully change your life. Everyone is invited to the table, regardless of your beliefs or background. We're here to discuss real-life issues that pertain to all of us, whether you're God's favorite girl or guy, or simply someone looking for insights into life's challenges and triumphs. Speaking of God's favorite girl, EeezDrop is proudly powered by GFG Evolution, a company that's all about guiding you towards your evolution. Our aim is simple, to help you find your solution through growth and evolution. We won't force our beliefs on anyone. We're here to foster community and spark evolution. We'll be joined by remarkable guests who shared their personal experiences and stories. And as you eavesdrop on these conversations, you'll find nuggets of wisdom that can help you on your own journey of growth and self-discovery. This is EeezDrop. Let's explore the reality of life together. And now your host, God's favorite girl, Olayinka Lockhart.
Hi, friends! Welcome back to Faith Talks, our signature series on EeezDrop, our podcast where faith gets real. Every week, we invite you to eavesdrop on honest, powerful conversations with real people sharing how their faith showed up in real life. And you know, life be life in. From the unexpected miracles to the silent battles, these stories will stretch your spirit, stir your soul, and help build your faith one testimony at a time. This is Faith Talks, where faith is in real life. So we want to give a shout out to our sponsors today, because when we evolve, everything connected to us levels up. Our show, of course, is sponsored by GFG Evolution, who is the parent company of God's Favorite Girl and God's Favorite Guy. Their Lockhart Realty Bahamas, the heart of real estate unlocked. Buy, sell, or invest with us. Then we have the CPA herself, Miss Stacy Dean, there at Wealth Evolution. She is open and ready to get your accounting in order. Skrojoven Trust Planning Company. Listen, sis, guys, we got to get your affairs in order, man. And the trust is the foundation of your estate plan, not the will. The trust is. Fly Sunshine Travel, sending a shout out to the Queen Diva, who is headed to Germany. I think that's next week. And last but not least, Premier Party Rentals. We thank you guys for giving us what we need in order to do what God told us to do. So, if you're new here, go ahead, press like, subscribe, and follow us on your favorite social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. There's GFG Evolution on Instagram, GFG Evolution on Facebook. Stay connected. And if something blesses you here today, please share it with a friend. All right, let's jump in. Today's guest is someone I am so excited to hear from. So this guest had told me, I think it was pretty close to the day that I met her, if you ever need me, call me. So I called her this afternoon and I say, hey, you remember you told me that if I ever need you, I could call you, right? And she said, yeah, I told you that the first day I met you. I said, good, I'm calling you because I need you. I said, I need you to be a guest on my show today on Faith Talks. And I told her what it is and what I needed to share about. And guess what? She has a lot to say about faith. So I want you to tune in. And I want you to welcome with me Miss Siobhan Addison. If I think about three words I could call her. The first one is prayerful. The next one is faithful. Man, she can show up. You could rely on her. You could depend on her. When I say faithful, She faithful. She must see was John in the Bible with Jesus. And then kind, very kind. Like she'll be kind to the dog on the street. She'll be kind to the Jones walking. She is just kind-hearted. And I found her to be someone that I could call friend, I could call mother, I could depend on, I could trust my children with. And her faith story, listen to me. You're going to enjoy this. So welcome, Miss Sayo.
Hi, Icky. I love you and I miss you.
Yeah, we miss you too. So Sayo, I was telling the people a little bit about you. One, you're prayerful. Listen, if you need somebody to pray, she could pray for hours straight. You know, I've been not. I shouldn't be throwing stones, right? But I throwing stones. I'm just stating a fact. I've been to a church and the pastor tell the people pray and they couldn't pray. Like after maybe 5 minutes, they were tired. Like they were looking around like, you ain't finished yet? You ain't it ain't time to end yet? And I'm like, gee, if they only know what we come up under. So Sayo, I really got connected to you at the round table.
Absolutely.
And we would gather around the round table and we would eat and we would talk about life. We would talk about God and we would pray. And then that spilled over to WhatsApp groups, the WhatsApp group. And I remember you were teaching us a brand new word. Every day we had to learn a word, learn its meaning, use it in a sentence. And then I remember you would make us pray. Like every morning, someone had to pray. And that is what started, literally, real talk. That's what started or birthed, what is the word? The desire, the passion, that's the word, for prayer. That same WhatsApp group, that same little silly, what we would think, ineffective, playful, that same little group. Pray every morning. Everyone had to pray for as long as you could pray, whatever you could pray. No one judging you, no one telling you what to do. Just pray. And that caused you to practice prayer and that caused you to build your prayer resume. And that's where it started. And then from there, we took it to church. We had visited another church and that's when they say, oh, you got to pray. And so we really went in on prayer. If I can't lie to you, Sayo, that is what birthed prayer in me. Like that's what taught me the power of prayer, the need for prayer, the results that you could get as a result of prayer. Then I can let you talk right now. So,
no, you're good.
So the next part, look at Maddie. Maddie show up, but that's right. We prayed. Maddie's supposed to be in Toastmasters. Wondering what up, but you can show up.
Maddie, what word you have for us this week?
Yeah, and then I could remember faith around the round table is where I learned, or where my faith was strengthened. Iron sharpened iron and faith sharpened faith. And at that time, I wanted my son to go off to boarding school. And it seemed impossible because the school fee was $40,000 and I as a woman ain't working. And you say, oh, that's what it is? Oh, okay, yeah, sign him up. I'm like, what you mean sign him up? What are you talking about? Like, I can't do that. Where I get the money from? Nah. And you say, Inky, why you can't on like that? And you and Maddie had me for chalk. And I listened and I walked step by step, listening to y'all, faith by faith, and that boy going off to school. Hey, not, that the prophet did say next year the same time. It wasn't next year the same time. It was that same year. In the same year, Isaac sowed, he reaped. Sitting around the round table with Sayo.
I miss those days.
Yeah, that was good.
But they're good memories that I have that I lean on those,
And it was profitable, Sayo. It was profitable. It was, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but I don't know if any one of us could say that was a waste of time or we didn't benefit from being around that table in that association. Some of us was blessed just by association.
That's right.
Mm,
That's right. And I
yeah.
believe it sharpened so many of us in so many different ways
Mhm.
because everybody had a different issue or a longing or a desire that they were handicapped in, and the group, I mean, just by talking, we didn't even know that we were facilitating whatever the need was. And I believe that if everyone were to be honest, I believe everyone would say they grasped something from the group and it brought change to their life,
Mhm.
because that's the most important thing when change occurs. You can sit around a table, and if there's no change, then really then you say, what is the purpose?
Mhm.
But change comes, and it should come. And the group fostered such a sweet relationship that we were going and we were giving out clothing, and we were feeding the hungry, and we were donating our not only our time and but our resources.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the group was like a massage therapist for me, because that I was a caregiver to my husband, and that was one of the hardest and the toughest things that I've ever had to go through. I never planned for that, and it was almost as if the group was the support, it was the thread, it was the needle. It sewed, and it weaved so many things in the journey of caregiving, that when you guys left, like I felt, like, why did they have to leave?
Uh,
But at least I was able to lean on whatever was left. And that was, I think God really had you guys in a position to support me in that area, because like I said, caregiving is very tough. It takes everything, it sucks everything out of you. And it was almost as if I had nothing else to give, and if I did not have the support, I don't know what would have happened. But I had you guys as that support, to smile, to rub my feet, rub my hand, rub my head, telling me, Sai, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And when he called out for me and I had to leave and go upstairs and do whatever, and I came down, you guys were there welcoming me, and I mean, having a good support system is so important in your spiritual journey and in your journey as a whole. And I appreciate you guys. I love you, Inky. Even though you mess up on the rice, I love you.
I don't even remember which rice that is, but I could
That
have never
big
cooked
pot of
rice, so
rice,
I know you rely on me.
that big pot of rice, I'd never forget when we were trying to figure out the menu for the following week. Inky said, put me down for the rice. Put me
I don't know why I would say
that
that. I
big
don't know.
20-pound pot you brought with the rice. I said, but Inky, the rice ain't finished cooked.
Child.
But we
But the
sure
truth of the
ate that
matter is,
rice.
I don't know. The truth of the matter is, to this day, I could hit and miss with the rice. Let me cook anything else, but I get hit and miss with that rice.
But guess what? We ate it happily, because we knew it came from a good place, and we knew that it was filled with love. So, and that was the most important thing.
Amen. And with talking about that friendship, that camaraderie, we still tight like that today. Like you
Same.
touch one, you touch all. You one call, all us come in. It's real
That's
talk. Real
yes.
talk.
And distance, even though there is distance, there is thousands of miles between us. Like I said earlier, when we see each other or when we talk, it's like we just picked up from the comma, because there's never a full stop. So it's beautiful. It was ordained. And I'm so grateful that, in life, I always used to say people come into your life for a season, a reason, or for a lifetime. Well, I like the lifetime because, you create such a bond, and not just with us as individuals, but our families. And, I love your family love my family. We take care of each other. We check on each other. And it's just a bond that was so beautiful. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. So this Maddie over here talking about now we need some macaroni. The
Tell
macaroni
Maddie,
is good though.
you
We
remember
need,
the fry fish with all the nice seasonings and the herbs on the top,
listen.
like the conch salad on top of the
Oh
fish
my
that I
gosh.
used to prepare for Ozzy, and
We
you
had
all
some
used to
times,
get
eh?
jealous.
Oh my gosh, we had some times. Bring back the good old days. We bringing the party to you. We coming looking for you. So
Oh,
you could
I
cook.
would love that. I welcome that.
So Sayo, let's talk about faith, right? So
Yes,
we've been doing this segment on EeezDrop where we've been talking about faith and how we conquered different situations because of faith. And of course, we walk by faith. That's the only way I know how to walk. It don't make no sense walking no other kind of way. So I want you to tell us about a faith journey
wow,
that
I've got so many.
mm-hmm,
But the principal thing is, he said, it is impossible to please him without faith. And if we are God pleasers, that is a prerequisite, faith. My faith journey started when I was a little girl. I think I was between the age of 3 and 5 when my mom took me to Nassau to live with my grandparents. And there was such a disparity with how my grandmother lived and how my mom lived. So my mom, she had everything, living in a beautiful condo in Grand Bahama, the Cove House. It was like one of the top condominiums in Grand Bahama then. And I had a certain lifestyle that I was accustomed to. And then I had to transition from that to my grandparents who lived in abject poverty. I mean, the house was old. There was nothing that resembled Freeport or being with my mom. The wooden house, there was no floor. When it rained, it was as if you were outside on the inside. But the very little that they had and the faith that my grandmother, exhibited throughout her life, it was the foundation for my life. So my faith, and my grandmother was a prayer warrior. So it was her prayer, it was her faith, and it was her love for people. And those are the three fundamentals, the core values of how they brought me up, and that still remains today. And I would see how my grandmother would take the rotten vegetables and cut them off and make a meal. And it was the most delicious thing I ever tasted. Stewed tomatoes. Having meat on our plate was a luxury. We didn't have that. But how she took the little that she had and made it something so beautiful. And she would always say to me, you want to please God? You have to have faith. You have to believe in Him. You have to know that God is going to provide. I was between 3 and 5. I don't need to know nothing but faith. I just want food.
right.
But I grew up seeing that. And that became such a part of my life. It became almost the yardstick that I measured my life growing up. And I lived with my grandparents until I was at the age of 13. I looked at some days I didn't have shoes. And my grandfather would go into his old garage and he would take the contact cement and stick my shoes and make that shoes look like new. And my grandmother said, that's faith. Because he had the tools, he had all the raw materials, and he brought it together and he made me a new pair of shoes that I would go to school in. I didn't have school bags. I used to carry an old brown paper bag with my sandwiches. And the sausage used to be that thick back in the day. So it leaked through the bags and it was embarrassing, but that's all they had. And it provided a meal for me to go to school. So all through my life, all through my journey growing up with my grandmother, I saw the scarcity, I saw the poverty, but the faith that they had We never went without. We never went hungry. Even though we didn't have, like I said, meat was a luxury, the vegetables, the bread. She used to bake bread on the outside. And the sweetest bread, coconut tart. She would go to the tree and say, God, let a coconut drop because I can't climb the high tree. And when we look the coconuts are on the ground. Faith, she believed. She believed in God. She believed in God so much that you couldn't tell her anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with that. And that just spawned into my life, and it grew. And I then had to believe God for certain things for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had to believe God for going back to school. I had to believe God when I made the transition to leave the Bahamas to go to the US. That was a miracle. That was a faith journey. I had to believe God. I was married for 34 years, and I had to believe God for 13 years of that marriage, where I became a caregiver. And Inky, 5 of those years I didn't work, but we never went without.
So that's what I wanted to ask. I wanted to plug in there. I'm surprised that you came from poverty, because when I met you, this was the introduction to wealth that I could touch and feel. So I'm not talking about the wealth where you can say, oh yeah, there's drive that, but you can't go sit in their car. Like this was the introduction for us to wealth. I could sit inside this Mercedes Jeep. I could sit in this BMW. Matter of fact, I drove the BMW. That's the first time I ever drive a BMW. So take us from poverty to wealth.
Absolutely. And it was, again, it's a journey. And throughout the journey, I had to please God. I had to walk in faith in pleasing him. So I had to do what was right. I had to know what righteousness was. I had to know what holiness was. I had to know what prayer was. I had to know what long suffering and gentleness and meekness and patience and all of those things all had to come together to please God. And Inky, by no way, and to your audience, I was never perfect. Trust me, never perfect. But I had a heart for God. And because I had a heart for God, he had a heart for me.
My God.
When I left Nassau and I moved back 14 years old, back to Freeport to my mom, I had to readjust again. So it was a lot of readjusting. And then my life just took on a whole new movement. And then fast forward to moving to Nassau. It was tough because after the 3 hurricanes had wiped Freeport out, we lost everything. We moved to Nassau from Freeport. I think it was in 2014, and Vernon had his first stroke, and he could not work. And so from that time, I was the provider. I had to be everything. I had to be his caregiver. I had to be the provider. I had to provide for my son, who was off in Florida at a $43,000, $33,000 a year school, and I was the only one providing. And during that time of my faithing, I had to go through a process, because faithing is process as well. You want all the glitz, you want all the glamour, but God is going to process your heart to see, if I give her this, is she going to stick with me? Is she going to move on? Is she going to go back into the world? Is she going to do weird stuff? So there is a processing, and people believe that, they could believe for this and believe for that and believe God is going to do it. But you have to come to an understanding. In that season that you are in, you have to faith for that season. You have to believe God that he will provide whatever it is for you and your family based on the season that you are in.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
So I could believe for a house, and guess what? I may not even be planning. I may not even be doing my homework. I may not be doing my research, and I still believe in God for this house, and I'm so far from him. Is that what he wants for you in that season? Yeah, the house may be 20 years from now or 10 years from now, but you want it now. And God is saying, okay, let me do some things in you first. So the faith comes trusting in the action. You have to trust. You have to trust God, and you have to have the action to come
Back
together
up.
with that faith. And so I digressed, and I'm sorry. So, Inky, you know that, yeah, it was poverty. I mean, abject poverty. If you saw where we lived, you'd be like, oh, Sai, no. But the love, the kindness, the prayer, the worship, everything was there in that home with my grandparents. And I just took that into I just walked with it, applied it, and walked in it. And it helped me, it navigate my path. And then like I said, I moved to Freeport and then transitioned back to Nassau in 2014. Vernon had his first stroke. So I became the provider. I had to work. I had to do so many different things. I was wearing so many different hats, but you never realized it. You never, because I
Busy
believed in
doing
God.
it.
I believe that he will take care of me. I believe that he will never make me ashamed, because he said, they that put their trust in him, he will never make you shame. I mean, things might be crumbling, things might be falling, things might be out of whack, things might be weird, children going nuts, this one husband upside down, house split, but he will never make you ashamed. And I believe he's done it for me. And so we came to Nassau, we moved to Nassau with our one truck. And it was so amazing that this lady, she called me and she said, oh, the Lord told me that you're moving to the Bahamas, to Nassau, and you can live in my house because I have this 8,000 square feet house out west, and you could live with me and your husband and da 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 da. And we said, okay. We moved with her, renovated her house, made it beautiful, made the space conducive for everyone to live in. It was just me, Vernon, my housekeeper, and her, and it was just a beautiful home. And then 4 weeks later, she said, God said, I have to go.
She said, God said, you have to go, or she have to go. Oh,
I said,
wow.
but did you tell me? He said, we must. Okay, it's okay. I had to, and listen, faith is not only believing, but faith is putting into practice sowing seeds. Inky, the very day that lady started putting, I would never forget that Saturday, she started putting Vernon and my stuff out in the front of her yard. In the front of her yard. And it was pouring rain. Inky, I went outside. I ran outside and I said, why do you have to put them out? What have we done? She said, God said you gotta go. So go. Inky, we stood in the front of that yard. And do you know, a lady who I had invited to Freeport, who lived with me from BFM. I didn't know her from a can of paint, but because, we were involved with BFM at that time, she came and she lived with me. And as we were standing outside, do you know the lady was passing, going up the hill in her car, and looked to the left, to the right, and saw us standing outside, reversed down. And she said, what happened? I thought you got. I said, I don't know. She just woke up and said, we have to leave. That I can call her name, Dr. Lucille Richardson. Reversed her car back, and she said, follow me. I live right over here. She said, I only have 2 bedrooms. Y'all can have one.
Wow.
I believe God never made me ashamed. And he had that lady in position. But that was a seed that I had sown years prior to that happening. So
But
what
you
seed?
don't mean it have to be a seed like the $100 seed, the $1,000 seed, the $5,000 seed.
All I did was open my door to her when she was visiting Grand Bahama with Pastor Miles.
So those are seeds too?
He lived in the hotel. She lived with me and my husband. And it was so amazing that the very dress that I gift her with, she was wearing it. She said, see, instead of her, talking about me standing out in the rain, she said, see, I'm wearing the same dress that you get. A seed, Inky. So we want to believe for stuff, but have we sown? Have we done any work prior? Have we tilled the ground? Have we done our research to say, okay, if I want this, what am I going to do What am I going to give God? What am I going to put in the ground so that when it comes up, I won't have any issues? I can always go on my heavenly bank account and say, God, let me put you in remembrance.
Sayo, you wouldn't believe I was driving today and me and Ozzy was on the phone and I started to tell him, you can't just think you could go to God and say, give me. You had to put something in that prayer bank. Did you put the prayers there? Did you put the worship there? Did you put the seed there? You can't go and say, okay, I have $100 because I just started depositing today. Come, loan me $1,000. What in your bank? What in your bank?
What is on your account? Where can God go and say, okay, let me see what's on her heavenly bank account and see what she can draw from. You, Inky, that lady stayed in our house. She probably visited us on 3 occasions, and she would not go to the hotel after she visited with us because of the way we treated her. She told Pastor Miles, she said, y'all could go to the hotel. Her house is a hotel. She said, the way this lady cooks and she treats. And listen, she was the furthest thing from my mind. Vernon had a stroke. A Passover, they call it, the first one. And I'm dealing with that. Then I'm dealing with being kicked out of a house that I don't know why. Out in the rain, all of our stuff getting wet up, and she's going up the hill to her house. Look at God, look at the timing of God. And all she's saying, look at my dress. And I'm saying, girl, you talking about the dress I standing outside? She said, come on, follow me. And I ran back inside. I grabbed Vernon. I said, come on, let's go. And he hopping and he coming with me. And we drove to her place and we stayed there with her for 6 months. Let me show you how God worked. We went there with an understanding to work with Cavalier Construction. Because prior to that, Vernon was the president of Cavalier Construction.
Okay.
So when I flew to Nassau, prior to us going to, scope out the area, check out the land, make sure everything was okay, I went to Cavalier and they said, oh, yes, we want y'all. Come. Mr. Addison was the VP here. Bring him back. Come on. Now, he couldn't work, but I could work. Anyway, Cavalier ran us around for 6 months. We were without work in Nassau. Vernon kept saying to me, I know God ain't tell you to go. I know he ain't And see, all of that tests your faith. All of that tests your endurance. All of that tests the journey that you are on. You got, what's the guy that, you got Doubting Thomas with you. You got Judas on the other side. And you trying to navigate this path because you know what God said to you. You know what he said. So you have to, Inky, as you're going through the process, again, another nugget, you sow. The other nugget is you have to be careful who's in your ear. You have to be careful who you're saying it to. You have to be so careful what you're saying and where you're saying it, because the enemy is just out there lurking. He don't want you to have nothing. He don't want none of us to have nothing. But you got to know that you know that God said it, and that settles it. But you will have the detractors. My husband was Thomas. And he kept saying, hey, I ain't tell you, because look at what we're going through. Look at all of this. But I kept going. And I said, brother, either you are with me or you are against me. But let's go. Because ain't nobody can take care of you like me. And he said, okay. He was humble. He said, okay. And he kept going and we kept going. We stayed with Dr. Lucille for 6 months. And let me tell you something. The only income we had for that 6 months, Inky, was Vernon's pension. $325 a month. And we gave that. We gave that to Dr. Lucille. Every month that came, we gave it to her. And she said, but how are you going to manage for gas? The truck never ran out. We drove and we drove and we drove. She said, well, what about food? I said, don't worry about food. My aunt has a restaurant she cooked. We can get food. But you take this money because we are living here. We have to have accountability. We have to have integrity. We're in your house. We can't just freeload. That's not who we are. Inky, 6 months later, It was my grandmother's birthday. And I had $25. Let me show you God. We went to Solomon's Out. I think it's going for Out West by Soldier Road Way, somewhere out there. And we're walking around, and I said, Vernon, I want to go in Solomon's because I want to get my grandmother a fruit basket because she likes fruits. Inky, the basket was $20 and something cents. So I grabbed the basket and we're heading. And this gentleman walked up to me and he said, oh my God, Miss Addison, Mr. Addison, are you all here for good? And I said, yeah, we moved here. He said, oh my God. And Vernon is tugging at me like, oh, let's see. And I'm like, I don't know. But I just went along with it. And he said, you don't remember me? And I said, I think so. He said, I work for you all. I used to work for you all in Freeport. He said, you all paid my children's school fees when, oh God, I want to cry because I can still remember it. He said, you all paid my children's school fee when St. Paul's called and said the children out in the parking lot. He said, you, Miss Addison, I never forget. You wrote the check and you called Chief, because they used to call Vernon Chief, on the radio, and you said, hey, I'm writing a check to so-and-so for their school fees, and we can talk about it later.
Jesus, that caused all my hair stand up.
You know who that? It was Mr. Gator, Brother Gator, who used to go to the church where we used to go to. Anyway, he reminded me that we were the ones who paid his children's school fees. Inky, another seed in the ground. Not knowing, didn't remember. And he said, I can't believe I used to work for you. I was the carpenter. Remember, the taxi cab industry was failing, and you all hired me and you all taught me. He said, Mr. Addison, you taught me how to put up the sheetrock. He said, you don't remember me? And Vernon said, oh yeah, now I remember. He remember nothing.
Oh, but let's play along.
Yeah. So I said, okay. He said, hold on. Where you all working? And I said, we're not working, and Vernon can't do anything right now, but I need to find work. He said, oh my God, I'm working for this company, Jones Construction. He said, Miss Addison, they need you. And he said, they need you. He said, call me in 20 minutes. Inky, I called him in 20 minutes. He said, oh, I called Mr. Jones. He said, he's waiting for you at 2:00.
Wow.
Same day. Seed in the ground, and my faith like a pistol that was ready to just pull the trigger, because I knew God told me go to Nassau. I knew it. But Thomas, he said no, and Judas put me out, but I kept going. And I ended up working for Jones Construction as their CFO.
Hold on, you ain't just get a little office job, like you going straight to the top?
What God say? He will make you the head
and not the tail.
Seed in the ground, on a mission, filled with purpose and passion. Only God. And had nobody else to help me. No one. Me and my husband. Yep. CFO. When Jones Construction, after a year, found out that I loved construction, they pulled me in the office and said, we struggling with all 29 of those homes in Sandy Port. See, you didn't notice, Inky. That's how we got there. He said, we struggling with all these homes in Sandy Port, and you in the office as a CFO. Oh, Miss Addison, you are off the chain. He said, look how you took us from 176,000 overdraft to $5. I don't know how you do it, Miss Addison, but your brain, he said, you need to get out of this office because the numbers look good. We could handle it, me and my dad, but you need to go in the field. You need to get those houses on a wheel. We need to finish those houses. I did not want to go back into construction. I did not want to go back on the field because it's hard work. Anyway, they threatened me and I went out there and I took all 29 of those houses and I completed them. The last 4 houses, I think it was the developer of Sandyport had didn't renew their contract with Jones and hired me to finish the last 4.
But what you know about construction, no? How you get in the construction field?
That's another fake story. So anyway, I finished the ones they had, and the last 4, it was on me. I became the contractor. Listen.
As I pop my collar, because you know who wants to be a contractor.
I became the contractor. And I said, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I don't have a license. The developer said, I got it. You work for me, but you're the contractor. You're the head chief out here. It was 9 houses that was left. I took the 9 houses and I finished them. And look, let me show you how awesome God is. The 9 that was left, I built such a rapport with the owners. I became their project manager. Property manager, sorry. I became their...
We need a little commercial. We gone from the CFO to the contractor to the property manager. Hold on, it was something before that. Hold on, but you still caregiving.
Still caregiving, still taking care of a man who I made a vow to God for, who was still Thomas. So I finished their houses and I became their property manager. Inky, that's why when God says, in blessing, I will bless you, and in multiplying, I will multiply you. It is your belief system. Do you really believe God? Do you believe God said he would do what he has to do? Do you really believe it? Do you believe that when he says to you, when you give, it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together? Do you believe that? Do you walk in that? Do you believe it to the extent that you walk it every day? I have a friend. Her name is Maddie. Listen, if Maddie tell you the crocodile coming, the crocodile coming. You don't have to worry how that crocodile coming. It coming. That's the kind of faith and belief system we have to have as believers. But first, it requires us to do something. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give? What are you willing to sow? What are you willing to help somebody with? Who are you willing to pray for? Who are you willing to pull up instead of pushing down? Who are you willing to just partner with? Who are you willing to just come together and just form an alliance that is based on love, integrity, building each other, and seeking the face of God? He said the steps of a righteous, it's ordered. What path are you on? Where is your path leading you? Is it just for things, or it's to build people, to build the kingdom? What is it that you want to do? What kind of motive do you have when you want all of these things? What's your motive? Are you trying to be the big cheese? Are you trying to live this life or keep up with the Joneses? Or is it to honor God? I want to honor him. I've gotten to a place where I say to him, God, I let your desire be my desire, and my desire be your desire. Every morning I get up and I say, God, I want to participate with you today. I don't care about, listen, you get to a point, Inky, in your walk with God, the things, but it does not matter. All you want to do is to please him. I'm at a point I say, God, did I please you today? Was my attitude right? Did I stand in the way of sinners? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I think it's a God consciousness that we have to become and we should desire? Because Inky, there's nothing he will withhold from us. He said, there's nothing I will withhold if you walk uprightly before me. So you gotta do something. And it was hard, but for me, it was easy because he said, take my yoke because it's easy and my burden is light. And let me tell you something, that statement, I could contest that in court. But guess what? It's because he was trying to get something out of me to bring something to me. And so I became their property manager. And Inky, let's take it another step further. I lived in the West when the hurricane came where you're moving to. And I had to run out of that apartment because everything was caving in. And guess what? 2 houses were available that I property managed. And guess what? I called one of the owners. She said, get in there now.
Wow.
Inky, the blue house I lived in for 4 years, no rent, no light, no water, no nothing. The one where you used to sit to the round table. 4 years I lived in that house and had to pay nothing.
So hold on. Let's go back. So you're telling me that the woman say who you were doing the property management for, she told you to go to the house, not to fix the house, to go live in the house for free?
The house was up for rent. She said, live there until I sell it. Didn't you visit the house? Didn't you sit by the swimming pool?
I live in the house.
No rent. I paid no rent, no light, no water, nothing utilities. And still she was paying me every 3 months my property management fees.
Now, if that ain't God, if that
3 months, every 3 months, the property management fees was sitting on the account. And I didn't have to run behind her. I didn't have to ask her. She would call, are you okay? Is everything okay? Twice the cable went off, and in 24 hours, it was back on. You lived in that house, like you said. And look how God allowed me to live there, rent-free. I didn't work. I wasn't working at the time, as you knew. Taking care of Vernon, sacrificed everything, laid it all down at the feet of Jesus, going to the church for 12 hours on a Sunday. But my heart was pure before God. I may have been in ignorance, but my heart was pure. And I sowed and I gave and I sowed and I gave. And God, look how he allowed me to live in the lap of luxury, taking care of his servant, taking care of his son. I had to believe God every day.
Even though he was Doubting Thomas.
But Doubting Thomas was still there.
Was blessed. Doubting Thomas was one of the 12.
Reaping the benefits of the blessing, reaping the benefits of faith, reaping the benefits of just letting the Lord live and do his work in me. Because the Lord used my caregiving to clean me, to fill me, to saturate me, to purge me, to wash me. He wanted to see what my real motives were. Let me see how she could treat this man. Because everybody done say, oh my God, he done older than you. So, go put him in a home. I made a vow. I will never forget one pastor that I know said to me, girl, you so fine and you young. That's an old man. He's so died. Go find one man. I said, you said what? I said, no, sir. Not up in here. Inky, you are the eyewitness to how we lived. And you are the eyewitness that I was not employed. But God. So where is your faith today? Is your faith in the things that the world can give you, or is your faith in your Father who created you, who you carry his image in his likeness. He made you just a little lower than himself and he crowned you with glory. Is that where your faith is? Or it's what the next thing I can get? And I don't want to be over spiritual or so spiritual. No, it's not that. It's your belief. What do you believe? And what have you given? Where have you served? Who have you helped? Who have you pulled up? Who have you ministered to? Who have you prayed for? Who have you travailed for? The many mornings that I used to make those prayer, I used to be like, Lord, I know they ain't gonna listen to this because they know I pray for 2 hours.
At least 20 minutes, but 20 minutes on each one of us. That used to be 1 hour.
Listen. And I sowed and I sowed and I gave because he gave. He gave his life. So I can't give. I have to be in a position, if I want something, that I have to put something in the ground and believe God. I don't have to sell myself short. I don't have to sell myself to nobody. I don't have to say, impatience, God, you taking too long. Let me deal with this. No, sweet girl. I waited and I went through the fire and still going through the fire. Still going through the fire because that's who he is. He sees something in us that is so valuable. He wants to bring that out. And so you go through the crushing during your faithing season. You go through the bruising. You go through the mash. You go through it because there's some oil in you, Inky. He's trying to pull out so that when he brings that thing to you, he knows that your motives are so pure before him. And there is nothing impossible for God. He said it in his word. He said, what's impossible for man?
Not for me. There is nothing impossible.
And if he say it, Inky, if I say it, you could question it. But if he say it, and he said, his word shall not return unto him void. It shall not come empty. He said, everything that he spoke, it shall come to pass. Everything. When I think about, he said, in the beginning was the word. And the word was with God. And the word was God. And there was nothing made that was made without him. Huh. That should settle it.
Church out.
Finish. And so that is where my care, my passion, my prayer, my devotion lie. At the feet of Jesus. Inky, I graduated, girl. I don't even pray for an hour no more. I on 4 hours now. Let my son, girl, listen. I get up at 3 every morning. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to tell your flesh? You die and let God arise. 3 a.m. I bark in this house. You would think a cathedral in here. Monday morning, my son came downstairs and I was pulling down the strongholds. I was praying about injustice. And I just asked God to pray through me about all the injustice that's going on, that we're experiencing. And I said, and I was just I was in a realm and I was pulling it down. And something said, turn around. And when I turn around, I see this big bulky guy standing in the dark, And I said, oh! He said, Mom, I've been standing here for 20 minutes. He said, can you turn the volume down? He said, because and mind you, they on the other end of the house. I said, am I that loud? He said, Mom, it's like you're in our room. Girl, I will pray heaven down. Because no weapon, and guess what? It's time to pray. It's time to get in the secret place. It's time to pull things down. It's time to sit before your God and pray, because that's what he put us here for.
And legislate.
Hello?
And legislate.
To change.
Right.
He said, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. He's looking for us. to bring the kingdom to earth? Because we gave it to Adam. We tell Adam, hey, you could have it.
And then that scripture that says, when the righteous rule, the people will
He said,
rejoice,
when the
right?
righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked is in authority, the people groan.
Right. So what I believe too is that we as believers don't understand that because we are in the earth, we already are the righteous and we rule, not the government, not just the government. We should rule. So we're supposed to be on our knees legislating. We need to write the legislations from heaven that the earth must abide by.
But then look what he said. I think it's in Chronicles. I think it's in Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken. He said he didn't tell the politicians, if my people. He said that to the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And so that is why there is such a disconnect between our political leaders and our church leaders, because God said in his word, if my people, half of the politicians saying his people because they don't know him and they don't want him.
So what
but
state would we be in if we depend on them? So we gotta be people
who are called by my name turn. If they just turn from their wicked ways, he will hear from heaven and he will heal their land. He will hear. So that means he's not hearing, Inky. What is he hearing? What are we saying? Oh, God, I want you to bless me with a car, bless me with a house. He's going to give you those things because he said, I give you houses you didn't build and vineyards you didn't plant. So you're going to get them anyway. But what is your motive? How is your relationship with him? Do you want him? Do you want him in your heart? Do you want to get in his presence? Do you want to sense his presence? Do you want that exchange of glory? Do you want to have the mind of Christ? Do you want to become that inventor of AI? Listen, everything in the earth came from God. Mm-hmm. Everything. The other day I was praying and I said, God, you're the gynecologist. You're the oncologist. You're the optometrist. I said, God, you are the psychologist. You are the contractor. You are the engineer. You're the structural engineer. Because they all came from him, Inky. How we get it? They came from him. So
his image.
And then he says in his word, he will give you the hidden treasures of darkness and secret places. How are you going to get that if you don't have that relationship with him? How are you going to get anything if you don't have that personal relationship with him? So my faith had to stand. My faith stood hurricanes. My faith stood war. My faith stood sickness. My faith stood caregiving. And Vernon never smelled one day in his life.
Never.
The house
was old people.
I tell you, when he ended up in the hospital, they said, how come his skin so smooth? He don't have no sores. Excuse me? You remember, Maddie can tell you the nights when I would call and say, Maddie, I had to pick him up off the ground. Maddie, he just pooped in my hand. And I couldn't get angry because that was my test. That is, God wanted to see, let me see how she gonna act. Mm-hmm. When this man do monkey business on her. Let me see what she can do. And I stood there and I swallowed it. I would call Maddie. Sometimes I call you and say, Inky, I can't do this. Inky, listen. And then I had to switch. But the beautiful thing that came out of that was one night it was so bad. He took the food and he threw it on the ground. He threw himself on the ground. He's doing all these weird stuff. And the Holy Spirit said to me, treat him as if it is me.
Wow.
That changed everything. So my servanthood and my caring went to a whole nother level. And it was through faith. It was through my belief that that's what he said. And I had to stand on that. So whenever he acted weird, I say, okay, Jesus, let me wash your foot. Let me clean, let me cut your toenails. Let me manicure your fingernails. Let me comb your hair. It's faith. Inky, because that was my belief. I believe God. I believe God so much. Everything that he says. And that is where God wants us to believe him. Why are we going to believe? Who else could give it to us? Who else breath do we breathe? The enemy don't want us to breathe. He would wish we would die. But he is a liar from the pits of hell. The only
Amen.
thing he came to do was to kill, steal, and destroy. Jesus said, I came to give you life. And that life is in faith. That life is through grace. That life is in righteousness. That life is in covenant. And when you are in covenant with God, there is nothing God won't do for you. And so I'm here just as a testimony as to my journey, what he's done, what he's still doing, and what he will continue to do. I'll share the last one. Look at Lavar. Gone to boarding school. His last year, we had a balance of $33,000. I said, well, Charlie ain't graduating. Because I don't have that. Inky, look at God. We ended up being able to travel there. Someone blessed me. She said to me in the bank, she said, girl, you've been so good to me. You've been so awesome to me and my family. I said, Jesus, where does this woman come from? And that's what I'm saying in my mind. All my mind thinking, I ain't got no money to go see my son, his graduation, da-da-da-da. And she talking about how I bless him, da-da-da. When I looked, the lady put an envelope on my breast. Do it just like that. She said, I just want to bless you. Inky, the boat was leaving Freeport. The Discovery was leaving Freeport 4 o'clock. That was 2 o'clock. We had ticket, we had hotel money, we had car money, and we had food. But no tuition money. But we went. Vernon and I went. The next morning, when we got there, first thing we have to go, we were on schedule to see Colonel Dwight. We went to his office. He said, oh my God, Mrs. Addison. He started to act like me, like when I see you, how I trip out. He said, oh my gosh, Mrs. Addison, you should be the proudest parents there ever was. And he said, oh, you should be like peacocks around here. And in my heart, I was like, yes, so we're peacocks. But I know I owe you. Anyway, he said, this should be a proud moment for you and Mr. Addison. He said, your son is graduating with a 4.5 and he's receiving 11 awards. He said, and oh my God, he's just brilliant and he's a leader. And I said, thank you, sir. He said, he's a reflection of you and your husband and all the hard work. Even though, you guys weren't living together, he was here and you were there. He just walked as if you all were here. And he went on and on and on. And I said, to God be the glory, my spiritual self. And I say, okay, so we need to talk. All I think about is the money.
Right.
Inky, all that time we were standing up talking. And then he says, Miss Addison, you all have a seat. And we sat. And I said, Colonel Dwight, I said, I know that we have, we owe the school. And he said, oh, the school? He said, I need y'all to do something for me. And I was like, huh? Yes. He said, Lavar's graduating on Saturday. He said, but you know what? The next class, he said, we can't find a leader. There's nobody who we could put in a position as the wing commander. That is the highest position that you can have in the school. It's like what do the prefects like head boy, but they call it wing commander. He said, we have no one out of the next class, graduating class, to hold that position. He said, and so we my sister and I who own the school, he said, we need a favor. He said, can we keep Lavar for the next year to be the wing Shata Rabashi. Glory to God. He said, can we just have him to be the wing commander for that next year? He's only 13, and I'm sure you all don't want him to go to college right now, so we'll keep him for another year, and you owe us nothing.
Wow. Just go. Just walk by faith. Just keep on walking.
Didn't he say he'll never make us ashamed? It wasn't as if Lavar was here in Freeport or Nassau. You could pay them. But in the U.S., He said, and what we're willing to offer you, if it's okay, he will become the wing commander, and we're going to enroll him in the community college. We're going to drop him. We're going to pick him up. This will be his home base, and then he will be the wing commander of the school. He said, oh, Miss Addison, I don't have time for y'all to think about it because the graduation is in a few hours, and I need to announce it.
Wow.
So he got 2 years free. His final year when he graduated, and the year that they kept him to be the wing commander. Living, and they enroll him in Brevard Community College. They paid it, not me. They picking the big yellow bus gone on the school campus and pick him up and bring him back to school where he lived.
Jesus.
You tell me, Inky, you tell me there is not a God.
I can't.
You tell me who you believe in. He said,
Only
some
God.
trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but I, Siobhan Monique Addison, will trust in the Lord. That's who my trust is in. Then he turned around and he said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to this,
I won't understand.
but in all your ways, you acknowledge him. He will direct. So faith is like just a part of my daily life. I believe God. If he said the color is black and it look blue, it's black.
That's black.
Somehow that could be black. And so that, I tell you, from faith to faith to faith to faith, glory to glory to glory, that's how I have lived and I continue to live.
My God. Oh my
Inky, look at it. When I left Nassau in 2021, my son had filled out my documents. And I said to him, I said, Lavar, I'm not coming until they're ready for they will book my interview. Because I know how, I want to be on the right side of the law and the right side of everything. And Inky, he applied for me in November 2020. So that was in 2000. He applied for me November. Inky, in 2020, November. January, Lavar said, Mom, you have to fill out these documents. I fill out the documents. I sent it back. He called me back. He said, Mom, your first interview is the end of February.
Oh no, that don't happen that quick.
Hey. The steps of a righteous man.
My God.
I have taken care of Vernon. I have done my part. I have given. I have sown. I have prayed. I have fasted. I consecrate my life totally to God. And Inky, February 10th, I left Nassau, 2021. Had my interview on February 26th. Inky, my cousin who I lived with in Colorado, was over there for 10 years and he had no paper. And I got my documents in March. Green card, my card. I took a picture. Click. Send it to my son. I said, hey. The lady interviewed me at immigration and said to me, ma'am, we normally ask 111 questions. She said, you know what? I'm going to ask you 5. 5. And I remember the questions. All she ever asked me was, when was the last time I traveled? Where did I go? Why did I go? Have I ever transferred drugs? And if I know anybody in the drug trade? 5 questions. Favor, along with my faith. When I got my card in the mail in March, my cousin was like, how you do that? I said, favor ain't fair. And my faith is in him. Favor is, and my faith is in God. He said, I been here 10 years and I even married American and I still ain't get straight. I said, well, brother, I don't know who you serving, but I know who I serving. Yep. Had my documents, had my green card, had my social security. And in April, I started working. And March, I was in school. I said, Lord, how a 55-year-old woman going back to school? What's she going back to school for? And I went back and I got 3 more months to finish. You see God?
I see God. I see God all over that. Our commenters, someone said, only God. You say, if I see God, she said, only God. And then Miss Kenya said, I needed this. They said, I needed this. Olivia Nixon said, God had you covered.
God is awesome.
God is
He's
awesome.
awesome.
Let me get this. You're gonna like this message. So Maddie said, Illuminators for life. I'm driving on my way to my Toastmasters meeting, and I'm so happy just hearing the stories, knowing that we are connected for life. The Illuminators were supposed to start our own branch of Toastmasters.
Amen. Ain't
You
too
know,
late,
we have
Maddie.
some speakers. You know, we have some teachers.
Oh,
Yeah.
listen, God is awesome, Inky. And as long as we avail ourselves to Him and we seek Him and our motives are pure and we desire Him, Inky, there's nothing He won't do for us. Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
He said, if I wouldn't withhold my son from you,
Oof.
then freely will I give you all things.
All things.
All things. I will withhold my son. I got 3 boys and 1 girl, and anyone of them,
Listen,
I will withhold them.
I got 1, so you know I ain't got nowhere with it, right?
But he say, if I wouldn't even withhold my son from you, freely I would give you all things.
Inky, I think people are waking up, and who haven't wake up yet needs to wake up to know and to see what God is doing in the earth. That should be a channel to draw us even closer to Him. Listen, I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to leave nowhere without seeking, checking, asking, finding out God. Because you see what's happening now. And I'm like, you have to live so close to God until He's in your skin. I tell you, my son, he say, Mommy, all of that? I said, this ain't nothing. You complaining that I pray so much and I pray no other way. Inky, there is no other way. And we cannot be, we have to be true believers. We have to truly lay it down, lay everything down and take up our cross and follow Him. We got the weights that so easily beset us. We have to do away with it. All the tradition, all the play in church, all these different. Just this morning, I said, God, look at the state of the church and the state of the world. You can't even tell. There's no difference. All of them look the same. Everyone look the same. It's so sad. Yes. And you know, and you know what I was dialoguing with Him. I said, God, you know what it is? I believe. You know, they preaching all these messages and, the message deep. It gotta be deep. It gotta be deep. And people can't handle the deep. If they can't handle the light stuff, if they can't handle the stuff on the shore, you think they can handle the deep? Mm-hmm. So now their faith is being tested. Their beliefs are being tested. They don't even know a prophet liar from a real prophet. They don't know who's who in the zoo because it all mixed up. But when you know God, when you know that word of God that will never pass away, Inky, and you're in His presence daily, sucking it up and drinking it down and allowing Him to press the oil out of you, you'll be okay.
Oh my God.
I hear Christians, they're so afraid. They're so confused. They have anxiety. They have this. They have that. No, no. Inky, I lifted my husband for almost 13 years being a caregiver. And I am reaping the benefits of having health issues with my spine. There are some days I can't walk. There are some days I cannot stand for longer than 5 minutes because of the pain. They call it spinal stenosis, where L4 and L5 is actually sitting on each other, and the tissue and muscle between should be like that. If you look at the spine, L1, 2, right down to 5, all have gaps in the middle. L4 and 5 is sitting like that. So the muscle, the veins, the bloods, everything that's supposed to go through there is not. So it hurts. It's excruciating. I've been taking epidural shots, the steroid shots, for the last 2 years. They're supposed to last 6 months. I have to take them every 3 weeks, and they only last me for 2 days from the pain. So let me tell you where my faith is. My faith is in the healer. My faith is in him, because I know he's going to heal me, or he's going to give me a replacement. Because I know he got some special body parts sitting somewhere in heaven that he could come down and put it inside of me. So listen, when the pain comes, sometimes I say, like our friend, out. Sometimes I say, you don't pay rent here. Get out. You do not pay rent here. My son weeps when he see me, because sometimes all I could do is lay down in bed, because it's so excruciating to my right. When that pain comes and that goes, and it's pregnancy, delivery is nothing like this, and it hurts. But guess what, Inky? When it comes, sometimes I tell it to get out. Sometimes I tell it, you don't pay rent here. Sometimes I sing. Sometimes I worship. Sometimes I praise him, because I know the God in whom I serve. And I told him, I said, I will say like Paul, you didn't remove the thorn, and you told him, I ain't moving it because my grace. So if that's where I need to be, your grace will carry me. That's the mindset.
My God, Jesus. This is so good, Sile. So you have to come back again. When you come back next week?
Anytime.
We have to put your dates in.
You know my word is everything. And so if I make a promise to you, that's going to happen.
Thank you so much. Listen, Sile, we really enjoyed this. I love you too. This has been so empowering. Oh my gosh. Faith Talks with Siobhan Siobhan Addison.
From that time.
Oh my gosh. Listen, Zaya, we appreciate you so much, and we got to get you again, but we got to let the people go. Tell me something. Mm-hmm. What closing remarks you have? You have any closing remarks?
The word of God says, faith, smallest, if you could have faith like a mustard seed, you could say to that mountain, be removed. Go look for a mustard seed and see the kind of faith he's talking about. But more importantly, let's get our priorities. Let's put Jesus first. And then let us hear what he wants for us, for the season, for that moment, for that level, for that dimension. Because every level we go, there's something else he wants for us. Let's desire his desire, or let his desire be our desire, and our desire his desire.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. Oh my gosh. So guys, thank you so much for tapping into Faith Talks on EeezDrop. Our prayer is that you, as you eavesdrop, you heard something that will help you evolve, and that these faith-filled conversation will stir your own faith and strengthen you, and your walk becomes bolder. If something blessed you today, share this episode and help someone else build their faith too. Don't be selfish. Remember, subscribe, Stay connected and join us next week for another powerful story of faith in real life. But until then, walk boldly, talk faithfully, and keep your ear open to heaven. Bye, guys.
You've been eavesdropping on EeezDrop, and we appreciate it. You've been listening to unscripted, candid conversations, and we truly hoped it's helped to change your life. We never force our beliefs on anyone. We're here to foster connections and spark evolution, and we hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at God's Favorite Girl, on Instagram and Facebook at GFG Evolution, and the website at godsfavoritegirl.org. See you next time on EeezDrop.